Hey guys, Jason here. On my honor, Marion Bauer is the author. Yearling publisher, 1986. This is realistic fiction. It's 90 pages, and I'd say fourth grade through eighth grade. This is a story of two boys who are lifelong friends, but that friendship abruptly ends when one of the two boys dies. Tony is kind of the mischievous friend that's always getting into trouble. Joel is kind of the goody two shoes boy that usually tries to stay out of trouble, but Tony is very good at manipulating him into doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. Tony has come up with a plan to go ride their bikes to a state park and climb some bluffs where people have already died trying to climb, and Joel doesn't want to go. So Joel asks his father for permission, but he omits the fact that they're going to climb these bluffs, and the father ends up saying yes when Joel was really hoping the father would say no. So the boys ride to the park, or start to ride to the park. They make it, maybe halfway there, and they cross a river. Tony, the mischievous one, stops and goes down to the river. Joel follows. They start swimming in the river for a little bit. Originally, of course, Joel doesn't want to get in. Tony talks him into it. Eventually, Joel challenges Tony to swim to a sandbar in the middle. The two boys take off, and when Tony arrives at the sandbar, when Joel arrives at the sandbar, he looks back and Tony's nowhere to be found, and then Joel is left to deal with all the emotion, the grief, the anger, and the struggles of losing his best friend. Let's see. They had studied rivers in school, but he couldn't remember. He looked around. Still nothing disturbed the smooth surface of the water, and nothing sulked along the bank. No hidden form. He might have been the only human being alive in the entire world. If he found him hiding somewhere on the bank, he would beat him into a bloody pulp. He would never speak to him again, never do anything with him again. It was a dirty trick, the dirtiest trick Tony had ever pulled. A shiver convulsed Joel. Though the sun was still bright and hot, he had begun to move woodenly toward the spot where he had left his clothes. He would get dressed, and he stood there over a pile of clothes. Tony's clothes were scattered on the ground exactly where he had dropped them. Tony couldn't have gotten out of the water. Not even Tony would be running around stark naked just for a joke. Joel turned back to face the river again, squinting against the sunlight that glinted off the rippling surface. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be. It was all a terrible dream from which he would awaken at any moment. Far above him, a car rumbled across the bridge. "Wait!" Joel screamed, coming out of the trance in which he had been, standing over Tony's clothes. "Stop! Help!" He ran toward the bridge, flailing his arms, but the car was too far for anyone to see. It moved smoothly up the hill on the other side of the bridge. Joel stopped in his tracks, trembling, his teeth chattering in erratic bursts, and then back into his clothes. He grabbed his jeans from the pile, letting his underpants and his shirt tumble to the ground. His hands shook so violently he could barely hold the jeans up to step into them. The heavy material stuck against his wet skin. He tried to stuff his feet into his sneakers, gave up, and began to run toward the highway, still struggling to fasten the jeans where there would be another car coming soon. There had to be. As he ran, he paid no attention to where he stepped. He looked down once after tripping and picking himself up to see that his big toe was bleeding, but it might have been someone else's big toe. He felt nothing. A thistle beneath his left foot only made him move faster up the hill, his lungs pumping. The air seemed to hold him back, exactly as the water had earlier. That little excerpt there was just after Joel had maybe thought his friend was playing a trick, and then went to go find him under the water, almost drowned. Once again, he emotionally thought, my friend's playing a trick. But when he found the clothes, he realized even his friend wouldn't run around naked, obviously. And you can kind of see that as he runs, he's scared, and his adrenaline's going. He can't even feel his own feet. But this is a good story about, maybe teaching a kid to step up and say no to somebody at some point, to when something could go bad. When something could go bad and the bully's pushing you anyway, maybe just step up and say no. I would highly recommend this book for, like I said, 4th to 8th graders. I feel like they could all probably relate to it. I guarantee you they've all been pushed into doing something they didn't want to do, and maybe by saying no, their situation could have turned out better.